X of Swords is the first big mega crossover event for the Hickman Dawn of X era, when the Sword Bearers of Arakko, a dark reflection to everything the X-Men have been building on Krakoa, threaten mutant kind. How far will Apocalypse and the others go to turn the tides? Find out more, shall we, as we dig into the pages of X of Sword Creation, issue number 1. So then, as the comic opens up, we're once again in Otherworld, an alternate realm connected to the Captain Britain mythos and greatly expanded upon in the new Excalibur book. The original Four Horsemen, aka Apocalypse's family, alongside an army of demons, are currently attacking one of the last great towers. This tower is one of the only things standing between the Horde and the Starlight Citadel, a kind of nexus point between a bunch of different worlds that actually get fleshed out here in one of the appendices later on, which is always nice to see. Now, there's actually a bunch of different doorways that lead into the Citadel, but the one that's probably going to end up being most important is the one from Krakoa, which, get this, just so happens to be the weakest. Oh yeah, that's going to be important. Before the tower can fall to the demons, they send one last envoy with a message to the Citadel. Unfortunately, the messenger doesn't make it, dying from poison along the way, and then the strangest thing happens. The comic becomes the Free Comic Book Day issue from earlier this year. I know a lot of people missed Free Comic Book Day, what with the whole horrifying virus ravaging the globe thing, but I guess it's pretty important to what we're going to be seeing in X of Swords because it's pretty much here in its entirety. We're reintroduced to Saturnine, the High Priestess of the Citadel. She looks like Emma Frost, but I swear she's not Emma Frost. It's here too, we're also reminded of the concept of the tarot cards being very important signifiers in this Hickman era of X-Men. In fact, the X of Swords is also a reference to the Ten of Swords from the tarot deck. Speaking of, it seems that Saturnine keeps dealing the same hand over and over again, cards that speak of war, family reunions, a woman's heart, and of course everyone getting sick-ass swords of their very own, because I mean, really, who doesn't want some of that, I ask? Now, back at the Arakko Point, the Summoner, Apocalypse's grandson, returns from his scouting mission on the other side, only to return with a dying Banshee under his arm. Geez, I joked in X-Men 12 that him going proved just how expendable he was, but damn, I didn't expect to be this right this soon. With the cat once and truly out of the bag, now Apocalypse is forced to come clean to the rest of the Quiet Council and ask for some help. They're not exactly thrilled with the whole building gates into alternate dimension shenanigans, but technically there's no mutant law against it. Pfft, what an oversight. So once again, En Sabah Nur must tell the tale of how Krakoa and Arakko were once one massive landmass called Okkara. They were split by demons and the magical Twilight Sword thousands of years ago. Arakko would end up falling into the demon world alongside all of its residents. Apocalypse saved the world that day, but he just as likely was saving his own skin. The Summoner came looking for his grandfather in hopes that they would be able to rejoin the islands once again, and Apocalypse agreed to help, sending a few mutants through the other side of the gate to scout things out. Unfortunately, their mission went from bad to worse almost right away. Arakko had already more or less fallen in the time that the Summoner was gone, and the demon army is bigger and nastier than ever before. Banshee was almost killed, and the mutant Unis was taken captive. The council is split on what to do next. The good-hearted ones want to save Unis from behind enemy lines, but the more morally gray amongst them think that it might be a better idea just to close the new gate and be done with it. After all, Krakoa doesn't need any more enemies or any more wars. Their plate is full. Shockingly, the deciding vote on all of this is actually decided by Krakoa itself. The living island naturally wants to be reunited with its other half, Arakko, and be whole again. It's kind of romantic, actually, in a crazy, sentient island sort of way, so the gate gets to stay open. Apocalypse is ultimately forced to move ahead and clean up his problem without the council's full approval, meaning that his raiding party is made up entirely of volunteers, mostly the black sheeps and odd ducks from all the other team books we've already been reading. Oh, and Beast is there too because, well, he just wants to keep an eye on everyone else. In a very nice character moment, Archangel and Apocalypse, two characters with a long and twisted history, get a moment to talk about regret. Warren is still bitter as hell about what Apocalypse has put him through, but even Angel of Death here is shocked to see Apocalypse weep openly with tears when he comes face to face with the Sword Bears, his original sins quite literally being made manifest in front of him. Wow, this guy has lived such an amazingly long life, and this is the one thing he feels bad about. That has got to say a lot. But hey, this is a big event story, so you know Insabiner's reunion with his family has to take an unfortunate turn. You see, Rachel and Cable, while gathering information inside Banshee's mind, discovered that the Summoner was always working for the Sword Bearers, and this was part of a much bigger military ploy. Oh no, really? The creepy as hell albino was secretly evil? Damn your sudden but inevitable betrayal, Summoner! The mission turns into a massive disaster, and a couple mutants end up dying, while the likes of Polaris and Havoc try and hang back to protect the others so the gate doesn't get overtaken. Remember, all these Erico guys are actually ancient mutants themselves, so realistically there's nothing stopping them from just walking through the portal and landing in Krakoa if they wanted to. Just to further complicate matters too, there's Saturnine and the Starlight Citadel, who aren't exactly rushing in to help the mutants fight off the demon horde, even though the demons were literally after them when all of this started. This is until Polaris decides to make them join the fight by literally dragging them out of their giant metal tower and down to the battlefield. But wait, there's more. From there we see Cyclops and Jean Grey attempting to get to the bottom of Cable's strange vision that was brought on by, well, what looked like another summoner. It seems that he saw a strange piece of technology on Earth, something protected by AIM agents. Turns out it's an energy core, something capable of space travel, that is, if it had enough power. Luckily, Cable picked up a magic sword in his solo book, so now would be a good a time as any to put it to use. Now back in Erico, the fight comes to an end when Saturnine decides to call some manner of trial by combat. The Demon Sword Bearers will pick a champion, and the Citadel will pick some champions too, and if you guessed that they would pick mutant champions to do their dirty work, well, you would be totally right. This will be a fight to the death, and the only thing that might give our heroes the edge is the 10 swords, some that we already know about, and some that are still a mystery, but they all definitely have cool names. Oh, and there's a ticking clock attached to this too. They only got 3 days to find the sword and get ready for the fight. And hey, speaking of swords, and indeed we have been this whole time, turns out that power core belonged to an old derelict sword base, one that just got reactivated right now as the comic comes to a close. And so that was X of Swords, or 10 of Swords if you want to be pedantic, Creation issue number 1, and by god, there was just a staggering amount of story in this book. In fact, there might be more story per page here than a lot of the other comics I've read this week in their entirety. If you've been following all the new X-Men books, I think you're really going to feel rewarded here because a lot of stuff gets mentioned and a lot of chickens come home to roost, visually if not literally. You also really gotta hand it to Jonathan Hickman here, who's been telling a very morally complex tale since all of this started, about the mutant community trying their best to build a lasting nation and all the pitfalls that come with it. To continue that trend here in X of Swords, wherein you got multiple feuding nations, all kind of reflections of each other, and while at first you might have thought the Sword Bearers were going to be the bad guys because they look evil, Saturnine and the Citadel prove you can actually look good and be evil too. Overall, I'd give this one an 8.5 out of 10. The stage is set now for some really interesting stories, and with 22 parts to this mega event, be sure to keep your eyes peeled and stuck to the channel because we're going to be covering all of them. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.